Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Roundup May 2021 edition. We hope all of you are safe and healthy and at your homes. So today I'm joined by my colleague Neha Jain, who is managing associate in our firm. And in today's webinar, we'll be covering some important topics. Firstly, COVID-19 measures which government has taken under indirect tax laws. We'll also cover measures which government took in 2020 but has not taken this time. There are some important changes in GST and customs laws, foreign trade policy, which has happened in the last month. We'll be covering that. And lastly, we'll wrap up with some important rulings which have come up during last month, which will have far-reaching implications, both positive and negative on your business. With this, we start our today's session, and Neha will start with COVID-19 measures. Over to you, Neha.
Thank you, Puneet. Good afternoon, everyone. I wish good health and strength to all of you, and I hope that this time shall also pass soon. So, starting with our first part of the session, we will be discussing recent measures and relaxations that government has brought up in recent month. We will be discussing those changes and measures in different indirect tax aspects, GST, customs, and some other measures. In GST, the due date of GSTR 1 for the month of April has been extended to 26th May. For GSTR 3B for the month of April, the due date has not been extended. It was still yesterday, May 20. I hope most of you have filed your 3B on time. However, there is a facility that if 3B is filed within 15 days after May 20, that is by June 4, it can be filed with a lower interest rate of 9% with no late fee. Further, regarding ITC restriction under Rule 36(4) for the month of April and May, this restriction can be complied with on cumulative basis while filing GSTR 3B of May month by June 20. So here, many taxpayers had doubts that whether actually the date of 3B has been extended after May 20. And on portal also, taxpayers have faced that there is a message on portal which says that reflection of suppliers' invoices or debit notes in 2A or 2B, that will happen by May 29. So that was the trigger point for that doubt. To clarify, since the due date of 3B has not been extended and ITC can be claimed cumulatively in May basis 2A, 2B. So taxpayers can claim, could have claimed credit in April month basis their books of accounts only, and they have to reconcile the credits for both the months in next month's 3B. Due date of GSTR 6 for the month of April, that has also been extended till 31st May. Further, for companies and LLPs for filing 1 IFF and 3B, they can do so using EEBC facility instead of DSC till May 2021. Apart from the relaxation in terms of returns or statements, there are certain compliances under GST law which are time bounded. So one of the conditions under ITC to claim is that recipient has to pay the value of supply and tax to the supplier within 180 days from the date of issuance of invoice. In case of exports of merchant export transaction, the export has to happen within 90 days from the date of issuance of invoice by the supplier. Regarding refund, there are certain refund due dates and limitations under the law in different cases that are that within that time period only refund application can be filed. And for other proceedings, issuance, order, intimation, etc. at authority level, as well as at taxpayers level for filing any appeal, reply, report, return, statement, etc. If the time limit of all these compliances falls between April 15 to May 30th, that has been extended till May 31st. Further, regarding job work transactions, there is a requirement that inputs sent and capital goods sent to the job worker, they are to be returned, they are to be brought back by the principal within 1 year in case of inputs and 3 years in case of capital goods. So if this time limit also falls between April 15 to May 30th, that has also been extended till May 31st. Due date of ITC 04, the statement for reporting job work challans for the quarter January to March, that has been extended till May 31st. Earlier, the due date was 25th April. So apart from GST, now we'll discuss custom changes and relaxations that have come up. So importer or exporter, they are in certain cases required to file bond with the authorities. So for relaxing the condition of filing bond, which will take time, etc., during this COVID time, the importer or exporter can furnish an undertaking instead of bond during May 8 to June 30th. Along with that undertaking, they need to provide a declaration to the authority that they will furnish the proper bond with notarized stamp paper, etc., by July 15th. In case of RCMC certificates, registration cum membership certificates under FTP, there is a requirement for importer or exporter to obtain those certificates from the authorities for claiming any authorization or benefits under the FTP. So this has also been relaxed, that the government has provided that regional authorities will accept such applications till September of this year, even if the validity of the RCMC certificate was expired by March. And for current year, which is financial year 21-22, RCMC can be obtained once the situation is normalized. In certain other cases, recently, this is one of the welcome relaxation that has been brought up by the government. So due to this COVID time, many businesses are facing working capital funds issue and business slowdown issues. So to ease out the burden of the compliances and to ease out the burdens of the funds blockage, the government has started a special drive to refund back the claims of custom duties, IGST and drawbacks from May 15 to May 31st. And this is targeted to liquidate all such pending claims which are pending as on May 14. Along with customs, DGFT also has operationalized a new COVID-19 help desk to ease out compliances and to help businesses in providing solutions to their issues, like in terms of clearances, in terms of international trade issues, etc. So any of the importer or exporter who faces such issue, they can file their complaint on DGFT website in the given link. Under SEZ law, there are certain compliances which SEZ unit, developer or co-developers need to undertake, and they are also time bounded under SEZ law regarding validity of letter of approvals, filing quarterly progress reports, filing annual performance reports, etc. So all the validity and the due date of all such compliances has been extended till June 30th. So like we have seen the specific relaxations and measures that have been provided under specific law of GST, customs and FTP. Recently, on April 27, Supreme Court has restored its last year's order for extension of certain limitation period in case of any proceedings before any courts, tribunals, appellate and other authorities. And they have specifically said that it will be applicable to all laws irrespective of the limitation provided under such laws. So here, this is another doubt that taxpayers were facing in light of the specific relaxations that has come up in GST and customs and FTP laws, and over and above the Supreme Court order. So one doubt is that whether this Supreme Court order will be applicable or the GST notifications will prevail for GST compliances. Similarly, for customs as well as erstwhile laws, service tax, VAT, central excise, will this Supreme Court order will prevail or the specific relaxations will prevail? So in our view, if you see, the Supreme Court has order has been issued under Article 142 of the Constitution, which empowers Supreme Court to issue order in case there is an absence of the power in the law altogether. So to bridge that gap between the law and the power vested with the Supreme Court, they can issue order, and hence they have issued this order. So in our view, taxpayers should do the compliances within the time frame which has been provided under the specific law only, and not in the Supreme Court order to avoid any dispute. So after discussing the specific relaxations and measures that have been provided by government in specific laws and Supreme Court order, industry was expecting some more relaxations that has been missed by government this time vis-a-vis last year. We'll be touching upon those relaxations which government could have brought up to ease out the compliances and burden of the taxpayers. E-way bills. Regarding e-way bills, earlier there was an extension in the validity of e-way bill. Now there is no extension. So there is complete miss on bringing relaxation on part of e-way bills. Regarding issuance of digitally signed certificate of origin in case of imports, there is no relaxation. Similarly, for validity of status certificates, AO certificates, then for extension of time limit for realization of export proceeds, there is a time limit under FEMA guidelines. So there is no relaxation in that area. And similarly, in case of EPCG advanced authorization schemes, validity of authorizations and fulfillment of the export obligation period, that has also been not relaxed. Moving further, we will be discussing some other important changes apart from relaxations and extensions that have come up in a recent month. Some changes have been brought up in GST. In GST, this is a very welcome change for the taxpayers that has recently been issued by the government, that there was an issue that whether the time period from filing of refund claim till the communication of deficiencies by the authorities will be counted in the limitation period of 2 years for filing their refund applications as a fresh refund application after deficiency memo. So this has been relaxed now, and this has been provided specifically under law that time period from filing of refund application till deficiency will not be counted in the limitation period, and therefore taxpayers can enjoy the balance limitation period for filing their fresh refund applications. For in case of withdrawal of any refund applications, if taxpayer wishes to choose to withdraw their own refund applications for any reason, so now they can file their withdrawal application in RFD 01W, which is a specific form designed for this purpose. And they can do so before issuance of any deficiency memo, any provisional order, final order, etc. Again, there is one more welcome change which has come up in e-way bill, despite no change in the validity of the e-way bill. So basically, there is a requirement under law that if a taxpayer doesn't file his returns for consecutive 2 periods, months or quarter, his entire e-way bill portal or e-way bill transactions for all the documents or movements will be restricted. And even his supplier, customer, consignee, transporter, all are not allowed to generate e-way bill. Now this has been relaxed, and this has been only limited to the outward movement of goods in respect of such default person. Regarding reporting of HSN digits on invoices for supply of goods or services, it was mandated from April 1 to report it on a 6-digit HSN basis. There was an issue which taxpayers was facing, that many a times 6-digit HSN, even though valid under law, they were not accepted on the e-invoice, e-way bill and GST portal. So recently GSTN has issued a clarification that taxpayers can raise a ticket regarding that, or alternatively they can report the 8-digit HSN on a higher compliance basis. With an objective to further digitalize the e-way bill mechanism and to identify the malified cases where the vehicles are without e-way bills or without goods, etc. Government is working on a system that it can provide a real-time data to the officers, wherein officers will have an information that which vehicle is moving without e-way bill or without goods, etc. And the purpose of doing this is that officers can intercept only those vehicles which are moving without e-way bills or without goods. So from these changes and with respect to e-way bill, we can expect that the number of cases of interception can be minimized through such automations. Moving further, there are some important changes and news that have come up under FTP and other laws. Regarding FTP, we have been hearing since January 1 that road tape rates will be notified, and till date, it has not been notified. Along with that, MEIS was suspended last year in December. So there was complete blockage of benefits for the exporter community. And recently, it has been said by the committee that road tape rates are likely to be notified by end of May. So we can, basis this, we can expect that the rates will be notified by May, and industry can validate that whether the rates are fulfilling their expectations or not. Along with this, like MEIS benefit was suspended and road tape rates are still to be notified, Ministry, on the basis of several representations by industry, etc., they are expecting to bring a mechanism where they can provide loan facility or a funds facility to exporters in lieu of such MEIS benefits or road tape benefits. One important area which is still gray is in FTP is SEIS. So we have been hearing since few months and last year also that there was complete lack of clarity regarding continuation of SEIS benefit in new FTP, which may be introduced from October 1, 2021, and regarding clearance of the claims for the financial year 1920. So earlier in last month, there was a news that the government may come up with a DRESS scheme for reimbursement of taxes in respect of export of services. Now recently, they are saying that they are planning to introduce a new version of SEIS in FTP, which will be effective from October 1. So we will see that whether the new FTP, which may come up from October 1, will have the SEIS benefit still there with a revised version, or what would be the fate of SEIS is still a gray position. Regarding other changes and other news we can expect, or changes we can expect in coming time to come, that we experienced in past few months that department used to raise show cause notices just because of the difference in the number of reported between income tax return and service tax returns. So CBIC has recently directed officers to not to send such SCNs just basis the difference in numbers, and they should apply certain logics and bases around that. Another important change that have come up regarding production linked incentive scheme. So last year, the government brought up production linked incentive scheme for mobiles and other technology goods. Recently, PLI scheme has been approved and notified for white goods, AC and LED lights, and it will be implemented from financial year 21-22 to 2029 with a budgetary outlay of 6238 crore. So because more and more sectors government is planning to cover in PLI scheme, we can expect that with this change and development, industries will be benefited in terms of different sectors. Now we'll be discussing the next part of the session with important rulings that have come up in recent important rulings that have come up. I would request Puneet to take up the session forward.
Yeah, thank you, Neha, for comprehensively covering on the changes. So we'll cover the rulings now. So many important rulings have come up during this period, starting with Radhakrishnan Industries Supreme Court ruling. So in this case, the authorities initiated provisional attachment against a taxpayer, and this is a measure which the government is resorting in many cases to expedite their recoveries. So it's a very important Supreme Court ruling which has laid down important principles. The first principle which Supreme Court laid down is that even though an alternate remedy of filing an appeal, etc., was available to the taxpayer, still the Supreme Court held that because the order has been passed in violation of principles of natural justice, writ petition is maintainable. Secondly, the court held that provisional attachment power under Section 83 is draconian. Therefore, the revenue needs to fulfill all preconditions before undertaking provisional attachment, namely that the proceeding should be pending, which is a prerequisite under Section 83. Very importantly, that revenue should frame an opinion based on tangible material evidence, etc., that its interests are endangered. Lastly, and again very importantly, the commissioner is duty bound to deal with taxpayers' objections and pass reasoned order. So these were the principles which were laid down by Supreme Court, which will come handy in many cases. And secondly, basis this, the court quashed the provisional attachment proceedings. Next important ruling is this Sri Satya Jewelry High Court ruling. In this case, the importer imported goods and DRI issued a notice and an order was passed. So in our earlier roundup sessions, we have discussed this Canon India Supreme Court judgment, which held that DRI show cause notices are not valid. So following Canon India judgment, in this case also, the importer filed a writ petition before the High Court. He did not file any appeal against the order. So this is what the High Court held. The High Court held that all legal grounds are available to the parties, which can be adjudicated before proper forum. So in other words, the High Court held that whether DRI had jurisdiction to pass show cause to issue show cause notice or not, taxpayer can raise that point before adjudicating authority. The court also held that writ petition can be entertained where after all the statutory remedies are exhausted, the High Court cannot conduct trial or examine original records in writ proceedings. Court shall not provide opportunity to escape liability merely due to jurisdictional error, which is rectifiable, and basis this they dismiss the writ petition. So many of the importers have been filing writ petitions before High Court following Canon India judgment, and different High Courts have followed and quashed those notices also. So this is the first judgment, which is a negative judgment. In our view, this judgment is absolutely incorrect for the reason that if the authority did not have jurisdiction to issue the show cause notice, that is a matter which is germane to the issue, and High Court can take up this matter in writ proceedings. Needless to mention that after Canon India judgment, the CBIC has already directed all field formations to issue show cause notices. So show cause notices should be issued by jurisdictional authorities only instead of DRI, and all DRI SCNs should be kept in abeyance. You can also see our video on YouTube where we have comprehensively covered this DRI show cause notice and Canon India judgment. Next important ruling is service tax on discount. This is a very positive judgment. This is TV Sundaram Iyengar, Madras High Court judgment. In this case, the manufacturer granted trade discounts to the dealer through credit notes, and the authorities' contention was that service tax is payable because, as per authorities, dealer is providing services of sales promotion, etc. They also invoked declared service clause of agreeing to do an act. So this is what the High Court held. The High Court held that directing dealer on conduct of business, so conduct of business in this context was meeting of targets, etc., does not qualify as rendering of service. There was a principal to principal relationship between dealer and manufacturer, and service tax is not payable. Very important judgments, because many auto, consumer durable, FMCG companies, their dealers, they are facing these litigations in the past. And secondly, the same issue from revenues perspective assume importance in GST regime only. If as per the authorities, service tax is payable, then same logic will apply in GST regime also. So this judgment will come very handy to refute those contentions. The next, again, important judgment is DY Bethel Enterprises, the typical issue which is faced by many taxpayers. So in this case, buyer purchased goods and reimbursed tax to the seller, but seller did not deposited the tax. And ITC was denied to the buyer because seller had not deposited the tax. Very importantly, in this case, no proceedings were initiated by revenue against the supplier. So this is what the High Court held, that firstly, strict action should be taken against supplier who has not paid the tax. Non-payment of tax by supplier does not lead to automatic reversal of ITC at buyer's end. And it directed revenue to undertake fresh investigations against supplier. So it's a very important ruling which most of the taxpayers are facing because number of their vendors have not deposited the tax. So in our view, there are three aspects of this judgment. One, we have discussed in our earlier sessions also, that this provision which necessitate a supplier to pay tax as a precondition for recipient to claim ITC, this is ultra virus for multiple reasons, and there's a past jurisprudence for that. But in this case, DY Bethel cases, the virus of provision was not challenged. So our starting point should be that the provision was legally valid. So if the virus of provision was not challenged, then to that extent, this provision should be treated as valid. And in this case, the buyer should not have been entitled to credit. Secondly, even the press release which the High Court relied was totally irrelevant to this case because this press release was issued in respect of new return system and statutory provisions which were amended, which have never been brought to force. Thirdly, from an equity perspective and from extraordinary powers which high courts have, they have granted relief to the taxpayer, which they are duty bound, which they always have right to do that. So to that extent, in the case of this taxpayer, this ruling is absolutely correct. But yeah, this may only have a persuasive value for other taxpayers. If other taxpayers are facing this issue, then the first action which they need to take is to challenge the virus of this provision. Again, we have made a video on this issue, which you can go to the YouTube channel, in which we have discussed in detail as to why this provision is ultra virus. Again, an important issue of Madras High Court. In this case, the taxpayer imported goods and it mentioned incorrect GSTIN on bill of entry, due to which it was not able to claim credit at the location where the goods were imported. The taxpayer filed application for rectification of GSTIN in bill of entry, but those were also rejected. So the court held that Section 149 of Customs Act allows amendment for bona fide errors and directed revenue to amend GSTIN either through their portal ICS, otherwise manually. Another important ruling in case of Mehertex, in this case, taxpayer filed refund application relating to zero rated supply, where it was claiming refund of CGST, IGST, SGST, but due to some portal error, the entire claim got consolidated under SGST head. So the revenue sought to deny refund of CGST and IGST, which was challenged before the High Court. The High Court held that there is no onus on taxpayer to produce proof for errors on the portal, and basis that the High Court allowed the refund of respective heads as well. Now this ITC on plant and machinery, it's a very disputed topic. So this is a AAR in which number of items were involved. On pipelines, the authority denied the credit as it is laid outside the factory premises. On strict construction of provisions, yes, this ruling is correct, but there is sufficient jurisprudence in the past where the credit on pipelines outside the factory, conveyor belts outside the factory was allowed. All those things were not considered. On refrigerated storage tank and firewater reservoir tank, the ITC was rightly allowed as plant and machinery. Lastly, foundation and structural support, the credit was disallowed on the ground that it qualifies as civil structure. In our view, even this part of the ruling is incorrect because foundation and structural support are specifically included in the provision for allowance of credit. And in all cases, it will qualify as civil structure only. So then the whole purpose of inclusion for ITC gets defeated. Another important advanced ruling in Gujarat. In this case, the taxpayer was manufacturing gold and silver doors, as well as trading castor oil seeds, and was having a single registration. So whatever ITC it was getting from gold and silver doors, it was using for discharging tax liability on gold and silver, as well as for the castor seeds. So it went to the authority as to whether the credit on gold and silver can be used for castor seeds or not. The authority denied the credit. The authority held that Section 61 only allows ITC on inputs used or intended to be used in manufacture of final product. This is absolutely incorrect. Section 16(1) does not have any nexus with the manufacturer. It allows anything which is used in the course of furtherance of business. Secondly, they held that there is no nexus between gold and silver with castor seeds. The law does not require that as well. And basis this, they disallowed the utilization of ITC. In our view, this judgment is absolutely incorrect. But yes, if authorities start seeing it product-wise or segment-wise, etc., it can create a big problem. But in our view, the correct legal position is it should be seen GST registration-wise. Another important ruling of Gujarat, advanced ruling. In this case, the seller sold the goods to buyer in 2018 and 19, and then there was a price revision due to which debit notes were issued in 2020-21. So the question was ITC eligibility on the debit notes, whether those will be time barred for the buyer or not. Unfortunately, the authority held that credit is not available. This is despite the amendment being made in the CGST Act to allow such credits effective 2021. The authority held that mere omission of words invoice relating to such do not bring any drastic change in interpretation. And it held that time limit to avail ITC on debit notes has to be seen from the date of original invoice only and not date of debit note. And it denied the credit. In our view, based on construction or interpretation of provisions, this judgment is incorrect. Second, the whole purpose of bringing this amendment, which is evident from GST Council meeting and all those things, etc., as well, the whole change was brought in to allow credit based on debit note only, which has been missed by the advanced ruling authority. With this, we come to end of today's session. And thank you very much for joining in that large number. And we'll meet you next time in roundup of June 2021. Yeah, thank you once again.